The phone rang 3 times before I noticed. Deep in investment reports, I barely registered the unknown number. Instinct told me to ignore it. Too many calls from people who wanted something. But something about this one felt different. I answered. Silence. Then a voice I hadn't heard in 12 years. Hi. I stiffened. Her, my ex-wife. Everything inside me said to hang up. She had no place in my world anymore. But then she spoke again. I heard about your father. I wanted to pay my respects. I swallowed down my anger. She had no reason to care about him. She had despised his discipline, his unshakable morals. And yet, here she was. I'd like to meet, she said. I should have refused. I should have blocked her number. But instead, against my better judgment, I said, Where? 12 years ago, I was a different man. A man who believed in love, in loyalty. I worked late, securing our future, thinking she understood. Until the night I came home early. The dimmed lights, the misplaced coat, the laughter from our bedroom, I saw enough. I didn't yell. I didn't demand explanations. I walked away. By morning I had filed for divorce. I erased her, buried myself in work, built an empire. From nothing I became someone untouchable. 12 years later she had the audacity to reach out. Why? Curiosity made me agree to dinner, not for closure, not because I cared. I wanted to see her realize what she had lost. The restaurant was elite, exclusive. She was already seated, poised, a glass of red wine in hand. She smiled, but I saw it, the flicker of uncertainty beneath her confidence. You look different. 12 years will do that. She swirled her wine. I just wanted to see how you were. I smirked. Cut the act. What do you want? She sighed, then leaned in. I'm married now. I thought you should meet my husband. I almost laughed, but before I could respond, she signaled someone over. A man in an expensive suit approached, confident until he saw me. His face drained of color. He knew exactly who I was. I watched him falter as he sat beside her. She smiled. Darling, this is... I know who he is, her husband cut in, voice tight. She frowned, glancing between us. You do? I leaned back, enjoying the moment. Go on, tell her. The man swallowed hard, gripping the table. Then, barely above a whisper, he muttered, He's my boss. Silence. For the first time, I saw something new in her expression. Panic. The smirk vanished. She turned to me, lips parting as if to speak. I chuckled, savoring every second. Yes. The next morning, I arrived at my office earlier than usual. My phone buzzed. A message from my assistant. Urgent meeting in the conference room. I stepped inside to find him, her husband, sitting stiffly across from my HR director. His fingers gripped the armrests, his discomfort palpable. Your employee has requested a transfer, the HR director said. I raised an eyebrow. Is that so? He nodded, avoiding my gaze. Yes, sir. I think it would be best. Best for who? I leaned back, studying him. He hesitated. We both knew this wasn't about work. This was about her. She had gone home humiliated, and now she was scrambling to regain control. I don't approve the transfer. His head snapped up. What? You work where you were hired. If you have issues at home, that's not my problem. His jaw clenched, but he didn't argue. He knew better. I dismissed the meeting, watching as he left, shoulders tense. The HR director shook her head, amused. You knew this would happen, didn't you? I only smirked. That evening, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I already knew who it was. I let it ring, then answered, saying nothing. After a beat, her voice came through, soft, uncertain. We need to talk, I chuckled. Do we? She hesitated, unlike her. Can we meet? In private? I leaned back, intrigued. I thought last night was your big moment. Didn't go as planned? Please. That caught my attention. She never used to say please. Something had changed. Something was wrong. Where? A cafe on West 45th. Quiet. I considered it. I owed her nothing, but curiosity got the better of me. Fine. Tomorrow. Noon. Before she could say another word, I hung up. I wouldn't let her feel in control of this. If she wanted something, she'd have to play by my rules. After 5 long years, I stood before the grand doors of my childhood home. The scent of damp wood and the distant hum of crickets carried echoes of memories I had tried to forget. My heart pounded in my chest as I raised my hand, hesitating for only a moment before pushing the door open. Inside, time had done little to change the place. The same grand chandelier hung from the ceiling, though the crystals were dimmer now, less radiant. The marble floors gleamed under the soft glow of candlelight. A wave of unease washed over me. This house had been my prison, and tonight it would be my battlefield. The soft sound of footsteps broke the silence. "You're late," a cold voice murmured. My father stood at the foot of the grand staircase, his piercing eyes locking onto mine. He looked older but no less imposing. His tailored suit, pristine as, always, clung to his frame with an air of authority. "I didn't come to reminisce," I said, my voice steady despite the storm within me. He smirked, descending the stairs with measured steps. "So you finally returned to claim what you believe is yours?" "No," I corrected, stepping forward. "I've come to take back what was stolen from me." A tense silence stretched between us. I could feel the weight of the past pressing against my chest. The nights I spent caged, the bruises hidden beneath silk sleeves, the endless lectures about obedience and loyalty. He exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "You were always too headstrong, and look where it got you. Wandering like a ghost, thinking you can defy me." I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. Not thinking, knowing. His eyes narrowed, and in that instant, I knew this confrontation would not end with words. He lunged first, but I was ready. Years of preparation, of training, had led to this moment. I sidestepped him, striking swiftly, forcing him to stumble. "You're weaker than I remember," I said, watching him recover. He growled, wiping a trickle of blood from his lip. "And you're still a foolish child." We clashed again, fists meeting flesh, bones threatening to break. He fought with the desperation of a man trying to hold on to power slipping through his fingers. But I fought with something stronger. Purpose. A final decisive blow sent him collapsing onto the floor, gasping for breath. I loomed over him, my chest heaving. "This ends now." His laughter was bitter, hollow. "And what will you do? Take my place, become the monster you despise?" I shook my head. "No, I'm ending the cycle." Stepping back, I turned away, leaving. Him there, defeated, powerless. As I walked out of that house for the last time, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. The night air was crisp, filling my lungs with the promise of freedom. For the first time in years, I was truly free.